Hey there, this is Iman, that Philly wholesaler chick, and today I have the pleasure of having my buddy Josh Hertz here on this video, doing an interview with him today. And Josh is a real estate agent here in the city of Philadelphia, and Josh and I met on Craigslist, but prior to us jumping into that, I'm just going to allow Josh to just introduce himself and give a little background information about who he is and what he does and all that good stuff, and then we'll jump into the meat of the interview. So, Josh, I'm just going to turn it over to you, to tell us about who you are.
Hi, Iman. So, I'm Josh Hertz. I'm a real estate agent currently working at the People's Choice Real Estate in Philadelphia, and I've been a realtor since 2006, and I got my license because I was already investing in real estate, and it kind of just progressed into getting my license afterwards. I've done a little bit of all types of business as a realtor, but prefer to work with the investor group because it's what I understand, and we seem to work good together. So that's basically where it's taken me as a licensed realtor. Most of my clients are now investors, and that's the kind of business that I'm doing mainly right now.
Okay, that's interesting, Josh, because I didn't know that you were an investor first and then became licensed as a real estate agent. Now, you are now. I know there's a difference. There's a real estate agent, and then there's that designation of being a realtor. So you are a realtor as well, Josh?
Yes, I'm a realtor as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I had got licensed myself back in 2007, but I never did anything. For the same reasons that you got your real estate license, but I never did anything with it. But my intention is to reactivate that. But
okay.
Anyway, so Josh and I met Josh. Now, a lot of people, and myself included, I wasn't necessarily real big on working with a real estate agent. For a couple of reasons. One, you often hear people talk about, in theory, they talk about, having a real estate agent on your team, preferably, an investor-friendly real estate agent. And, I think a lot of people, what they run into are agents who really don't understand what we do as real estate wholesalers, or maybe even investors as well, and how to get the deal done. I met Josh on Craigslist. Actually, I had posted a deal that I had on Craigslist, which is something that I really don't do. I don't really like to market my stuff on the net, but I was under the gun with this particular deal. I had told the person, the seller, that, if I couldn't get it done in 2 weeks, then, I would release him from the contract. So I posted on Craigslist. And Josh obviously saw the posting on Craigslist, called me up, and I must admit, Josh, I'm sure you'll agree, I was very apprehensive. I was very guarded when Josh called me up because, I didn't trust him. That's just going to be honest, you know what I'm saying? And nothing against Josh Hertz himself, but I didn't know him. So, and for whatever reason, we had the conversation. Josh convinced me. My main issue was that I didn't want to get screwed. Like, you're telling me, everything I want to hear, but I was real concerned about getting burned. And to give you a little background information about that deal, I had gotten it under contract, I believe, for $17,000. I was marketing it for $22,000. Josh sent over the paperwork. I'm going to tell you, within 8 hours, this guy, Josh, what time was it? I don't even think it was 8 hours that day. I think it was 10, 11 o'clock. I maybe spoke to you. You called me. Oh, maybe so, because I think it was 7 o'clock at night. You called me and told me I have a buyer, right?
Yep.
Correct? So, within 8 hours, he had a buyer for this deal. It was in an area that, a lot of investors are buying in. So, I guess essentially, Josh, I just would like if you could talk about the benefit of working with somebody like yourself.
Okay.
As a real estate wholesaler, if you could do that.
So I think that the benefit comes in where when someone like Aman or other people contact me or I contact them, a lot of times they have a property, and quite often it's a good deal, but having a good deal doesn't always mean you have the right buyer for it. So there's a lot of good deals out there, and no one has the right buyer for everything, but working with a good realtor who's investor friendly can kind of open the portal, open the doorways to expanding it to all the other buyers that we don't personally have contact to that think of our deal as a good deal, but we're just not really accessible to them. So that's kind of where the benefit comes in. And having a deal for sale that may be beneficial to someone, a lot of people, wholesalers, don't want to work with the realtor because the realtors don't understand them. And then furthermore, obviously they have to pay some sort of fee out to the realtor involved to, put the deal together. And obviously in business, people want to keep as much as they can. It's not greedy, but it's just the world we live in. Everyone's looking to make as much as possible. But a lot of times in this particular deal, specifically that Iman had on Tasker Street, she was advertising it for one price. The buyer I found paid a price well over the asking price. So even though, we're splitting money up between people now at this point, it still wound up being more beneficial because the offer I got was substantially higher than the asking price. So that's kind of how it can be beneficial too. So a lot of times we're able to get a higher price because we have, whether it's through the buyers or through the MLS, there's a lot of buyers that may be willing to pay a higher price than you can find on your own. Most realtors aren't really doing this kind of stuff. One, because they don't understand it.
Right. They
completely don't understand it. They're told it's illegal, whatever the case is, they don't understand it. Then if you can actually get them to understand it, they usually work for some type of corporate brokerage, whether it's,
right,
the Remaxes or Century 21s. And even if you can get them individually to understand it, they have a whole process they have to go through to actually list houses or whatever the case may be. And the broker or their conveyancing office won't even let you proceed with deals like that because they don't understand it themselves. But just as Iman and other people know as wholesalers, once you have that contract, you have your equitable interest and you do have certain rights to that property, even though you're not the legal owner at that point. Right. And me being involved with this type of scene, I understand that from the realtor perspective, and I'm able to help get the deals done.
All right. So on this particular deal that Josh and I are talking about, it was a deal, as he mentioned, on Tasker Street. And as I stated, I had it under contract for 17. I was marketing for 22. And actually, I think the numbers wound up being, it was like $11,000 spread, Josh?
Yeah, it was somewhere in the high 20s, I think right around 27, 28.
20, because I think you would have walked away with 5, I would have walked away with 5, and that other person would have walked away with $1,000, right? That's how.
Yeah, we were going to give it, yeah. Exactly.
Right, and unfortunately, that deal fell through because, there was a lot of drama with it. The person that I had gotten it under contract from, they had did a dollar deed. And from how I understand it, a dollar deed can only be done between, it's got to be arm's length between family member to family member or the bank to someone else. And that wasn't the case. So, and essentially really what I think needed to be done in that case, Josh, right, was that if we were able to locate the owner prior to the one that had the property then. Correct?
Yeah, exactly. It was there was some kind of dollar deed transfer. There might have been a little more to it. I think right. It was recorded and dated kind of a little bit apart, and right. It drew some red flags at the title company. Right. And the title company told us we needed to track down the previous owner, have them sign off some documentation, provide their ID, get it notarized. Right. And we actually tried with 2 different title companies, and they both came back to the same thing. And then when you went back to the actual seller, he wasn't able to get a hold of the previous owner for whatever reason, and we couldn't get the title insured. So unfortunately, it didn't ever make it to the table.
Yeah, it didn't make it to the table. However, now let me just to back it up a little bit, Josh, just to kind of maybe give people an idea how are you able to get deals done like myself and a bunch of people like myself who are watching this video? How does that whole process work? I come to you, you know what I mean, Josh, hey, I got this smoking deal, wholesale deal. How do you make that work on the, agent side of it in terms of the contracts that you're using with the buyer that you find for the deal?
Okay, so basically how I start is, first and foremost, I need to see the copy that you as the wholesaler have with the seller. Review that, make sure, you have an assignable contract with the legal owner or their administrator or their executor or power of attorney, which gives you your legal equitable right in the property. Once we establish that, then basically Iman and myself would enter into an agreement, more or less similar to a listing contract, but instead of with the actual seller, it could be Iman as equitable owner, entering into a listing contract with my brokerage. From that point, depending on the property, from being in the business for quite a few years, I do have a long list of pocket buyers that I can go to. But with the address and the price, I'll kind of know right off the bat if it's something I'm going to pitch to my own people, or if not, what we do, we put a lot of the properties on the MLS at that point. And through that, there's kind of endless possibilities, because I might have 100 buyers, Iman might have 100 buyers, but the MLS has almost unlimited buyers and unlimited access, and it reaches just so many people in such a fast, efficient way. So depending on the property, that's kind of how we take it, whether we're going with our own buyers that I have or buyers through the MLS. But the comps that are out there, they kind of tell you the path that it's going to go. So with the condition of the property and the price, with a couple minutes of research, I can tell more or less what a property is going to sell for, most likely. And then once we get the offers in, we do the typical assignment addendum, where we're assigning the original contract to the end buyer, even if they have a realtor representing them. Everything's disclosed in writing. Kind of spells out who's getting what, how everyone's getting paid, and once everyone's agreed, everyone signs off in writing, and we get title going and get it to the closing table. Right,
and it's a pretty smooth process. Now, and working with Josh, because Josh and I have worked on like 4 deals, and actually I didn't mention, I think it was probably back in Josh, was it October we started, how we first met, actually?
Yeah, I think, it's funny, I kind of forgot how we met until we were talking this morning, but that is right. And I think it was probably about October, about 8 months ago or so.
Yeah, something like that, yeah. So, anyway, what was I going to say? And, I feel comfortable enough with Josh, and I'm sure, maybe some people reviewing this, you work with an agent enough that, they're able to give them permission to sign off for you. You're not having to always have to constantly sign off on a deal for you. So, you know what I mean? Having to go back and forth with that whole process. So, it's another thing, Josh, boom, got a buyer, boom, this is what we're doing. Are you okay with this number? And then move forward. So, then the next deal after that was another property. It was in North Philly. So, there was a lot of work with that one, right, Josh? It was a little slightly skinny deal.
Erie Ave?
Yeah, Erie Avenue.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Right, yeah.
Because I had
particular property.
Yeah, well, let me just back up real fast. I had 2 buyers on my own, and they actually had come in a little under what I had it under contract for before Josh had actually brought the buyer to me for this one. And then we had to go back and have the buyer come down on the price on that one. So, and then Josh found some buyers. They happen to be from, they live in New York, but they're Ukrainian guys, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one was kind of like you said, you had under contract. That was one I knew that more than likely I did not have my own pocket buyers for that. So, we put it on the MLS, did our marketing, had our showings. I don't remember exactly how many showings we had, but probably 10, 15 of them. At which point we got an offer. I think it was a little lower than where we needed to be, and Iman, renegotiated our contract with the seller successfully, was able to get it at a better price. And I think we got the buyers up a little bit at that time, and we got the deal closed out, got the addendum signed, and that one was a successful one where we were able to clear title and get it to closing, and I'll get a paycheck at the end. So that was a good one. But that was good power of the MLS there, because it was a deal that you and I at the time were not able to get our own buyers at the high enough price, but through marketing it on the MLS we were able to, and we did get it done that way. So that was a good one.
Right, absolutely. And the wonderful thing about that deal was that there were no title issues with that, right? None at all.
Yeah, nothing major. Maybe some small stuff, but nothing that wasn't that we weren't able to clear up.
Oh yeah, It was. We did have a slight issue with the person that this seller had bought it from, but we were able to rectify that situation. So.
Yeah, a lot of times it comes back to the old owner, and maybe it wasn't an insurable title transfer, the previous sale, so there's always little things to clear up in that case, but as long as people cooperate, we can usually get it done at that point.
Absolutely. So it's a great thing. I mean, I know that sometimes for me, I just could you address the whole thing with marketing them on the MLS? I know you mentioned the fact that the benefit of doing that is that you have access to an unlimited a number of buyers, but like myself, I'm sure there's other people who are watching that are a little, because the whole thing with the whole wholesaling situation is that, what the benefit of people who buy from us is that this is not stuff that's, it's not listed anywhere. It's a private sale, and you're not going to find it anywhere. You're not going to find it marketed anywhere. Not the traditional channels that people usually go to try to find investment property. So if you could address that situation with listing it on the MLS. I know some people are apprehensive about doing that.
Absolutely. And I can comment from both sides because I am a realtor, but I do wholesaling as well, so I can feel out both sides of it. Through my experience, I network with a lot of people in Philadelphia, and the reason most people are apprehensive to put a property on the MLS, it's a wholesale deal, is usually one of two reasons. Mm-hmm. The one Iman mentioned, that it kills the exclusivity when they're selling it to their buyers. It's not technically exclusive anymore because it's on the MLS. The second reason I think people are apprehensive is because they're afraid that the owner of the property is going to find out and say, what's going on? Why is my house for sale? I thought you were buying it. So those are kind of the two reasons. The first one I'll touch on about the exclusivity. It's always nice to give someone an exclusive deal, but I really truly believe, because there's a lot of buyers out there of different buying capacities and different levels. There's the great buyers that pay cash and don't care what your assignment fee is, as long as they're getting the deal they're happy with. They don't care. They just want the property at that price. They don't care if you're making $50 or $50,000, as long as their numbers make sense to them. And those are the best kind of buyers, and those are the ones we all want to deal with. Then, as you get to a lesser quality buyer, they're maybe not tire kickers, but just they're indecisive. They don't act fast. They're just not pulling the trigger as fast. Usually either from lack of money or lack of experience, but usually the experienced buyers with a lot of money, as I was mentioning, that we like to work with, don't really care about anything going on behind the scenes. They just want the property at their price. So those are the pocket buyers I like to work with. Those buyers really don't care, if a property is exclusive, not exclusive, where it's marketed, where it's not marketing. If they go and see it and they like it, their number's their number, and that's all they care about. So you're not really losing a good qualified buyer by marketing on the MLS. The only buyers that you may lose are the ones that are indecisive and somewhat tire kickers, which may have not been a real buyer anyway. So by losing that small portion of unqualified buyers, but gaining the qualified buyers that, are actively looking, have proof of funds, they sign a contract, they put up a certified deposit, I think it's a very good trade-off. And the buyers that I mentioned, that you may have pocket buyers that are serious and ready to go, they really do not care if you're marketing it on internet sites, Craigslist, the MLS, as long as the numbers make sense to them, they're ready to move forward. The second part of it that I touched on was, the possibility of the seller finding out, which is a real possibility. I mean, I've done hundreds of wholesale deals through the MLS as a realtor. I'm not going to lie to you and say a seller has never found out, right. But it's a very small percentage of them that actually do see their property marketed. I'd say if I do 100 deals, maybe 2 or 3 of them see the property, or someone sees it and tells them about it and they find out about it. And of those 2 or 3, through, talking to the seller and explaining kind of what was going on, all 2 or 3 of them said, okay, the property stayed there. Whether it was my own personal deal or other wholesalers I was working with, we were able to kind of explain to the to the sellers why the property was on there. I can go into a little more detail about that later.
Conversation. I mean, if you can go into that conversation, what that conversation sounds like when you're presented with it. Most
of my wholesalers that give me a property that I market for them on the MLS, we kind of talk about it beforehand, but usually what they go back and tell the seller is that they're looking for an equity partner to partner up with. So they're just exploring their options, if they may want to partner up with someone later down the line and, kind of do a collaboration on the deal. And, like I said, the few times that it has happened after that was explained to the seller, they, always say, okay, and, keep moving forward like we were. So I've never really had like a deal that was lost over it. And in the worst case scenario where the deal was going to be lost over it, usually it's kind of been marketed long enough where the wholesaler hasn't found a buyer. I haven't had a pocket buyer. The MLS hasn't produced a buyer. So
it's not a deal.
More than likely that deal was never going to have a buyer at the numbers that it was at. So, if it was lost, it wasn't much that was lost anyway. Right. So that's kind of my experiences in those situations.
Yeah, awesome. And I can tell you too, because I know when Josh and I initially spoke, he asked me, what other folks, wholesalers I knew in the city, and he asked me, did I know this person, that person, and this person. So I knew it wasn't, he works with quite a few. I mean, I don't know all of who Josh works with, but some of the people I do JVs with work with Josh, and they're people of integrity and high ethics. So that speaks a lot for Josh. So they do a lot of business with Josh. So, but before we wrap up, Josh, I mean, as a wholesaler too, I mean, if you want to talk about that side of it, I mean, I'm sure people after watching this video would want to connect with you on the agent side of things, as well as, hey Josh, I got this deal,
Sure. Whatever. Yeah. From the wholesaler side of things, there's pretty much, a couple parts to getting a deal done. You have to find the right seller, you have to find the right buyer, and you have to find the right seller, you have to be a savvy negotiator to get under contract at the right price. You have to find the buyer, negotiate, and then you have to clear title and coordinate a settlement. So as a wholesaler, some people are better at some things than other, whether it's the marketing of finding the seller, whether it's the negotiation, whether it's finding buyers at the end, whether it's cleaning the title to get the settlement. But usually people aren't an expert at all of them. So basically the services I can provide is I can help fill in the gaps of any of those voids, whether it's what you need to get done to find the sellers, whether it's actually going on the appointments and negotiating the contracts with you. And of course, like we just talked about, finding the buyer, whether we're using the MLS or the pocket buyers we have. And, throughout the years of this, as Iman sure knows, there's a lot of title issues in this Philadelphia real estate, especially when you're dealing with a lot of the low-end stuff. So by no means am I a title company, but I have a lot of title experience and am able to actually pre-screen a lot of stuff through public records and deed transfers as to what we might come up to in the future. And when it does come up, have been through a lot of it. So I can help out in that way as well. So usually, like what I do, I think when I talked to Iman in the beginning when we met through that Craigslist ad, it's the two reasons we just mentioned why wholesalers may be apprehensive, whether it's losing the exclusivity or the fact that the seller might see it on the MLS. But the third thing is also that if you have a house under contract and you have your own buyer, and I bring a buyer and they're at the same price, obviously you'd rather go with your own buyer because you're going to make substantially more money, which is not being greedy. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just a fact of business, and I'm perfectly aware of that. So in the agreements I make with anyone that we choose to move forward with and market the property, they always have an out clause. So while I'm marketing the property for you, if I find you a buyer at a deal you're happy with, we sign off and get it done. But if you find your own buyer or for whatever reason want to cancel our agreement, you can surely do so, and you can continue marketing the property through whatever means you were doing, whether it's internet or word of mouth or mailing letters to cash buyers. You can still do all that stuff, so you're really not losing anything. You still get to do everything like you were doing if you choose to, and at the same time you have me on your team too, working other angles to get buyers to the table. So you really don't lose anything. You just kind of gain the best of both worlds. So it's really a beneficial thing. And through working with other wholesalers, some of them choose to keep marketing to buyers as they normally do, but other wholesalers I work with kind of got 100% out of that part of the market where all they do is market aggressively, get deals under contract on their own or, through some helps of us. And basically then at that point, turn the whole deal over, market it, find a buyer, get it to closing. So all that time, effort, and energy that you're spending on finding buyers, all cost time, effort, energy, and money, a lot of our clients actually got out of that business altogether. So at the point it's under contract, they basically just go back to the marketing table, finding more sellers. So they're able to get 2-3 times more deals under contract as they were because they're kind of hands off on the rest of it. And they just negotiate with more sellers, get more deals done. And like that Tasker Street deal where if I'm able to produce a buyer thousands of dollars higher than they were marketing it for anyway, they're still getting more or less the same amount of money, right, give or take a little. And but they can close out 2 to 3 times more deals because they don't have to find the buyers, do the title work, coordinate settlements, which is very time consuming and can also cost money if you're marketing to buyers as well as you are to sellers. So it really becomes a profitable situation for the wholesaler and myself, and the seller gets their money like they were promised, and everybody wins. Right. That's the best thing, a win-win deal for everyone at the end of the day.
Right. I mean, and that's definitely a great way to kind of close out this this interview because, I mean, again, to back it up a little bit, like you said, excuse me, not only, were you able to get a much larger spread, you were able to do it, and in terms of time, very efficient with that. So essentially what you're saying, Josh, is that, hey, listen, guys, and especially if you're new, I mean, if you're new or you're not new, but especially if you're new and you don't know where to start in terms of finding buyers, Josh is somebody you probably, want to get in touch with. And I would recommend highly, in doing that. But essentially you're just outsourcing that end of your business, as you said, correct?
Absolutely.
In terms of the buyer end of things, which makes a whole lot of sense. And, Josh won't burn you. I'm here to attest to the fact that he won't burn you because, like I said, I've been involved in 4. We didn't close all 4, but we've closed one deal. But, like you said, there's, we live in the city of Philadelphia. There's always these problem properties. You're going to, a lot of times deals unfortunately fall through, but at least if you have somebody like Josh on your team, you can get that end of the business done for you without having to stress and worry yourself about getting a deal closed. So if somebody wants to, work with you, Josh, how can they get in contact with you?
Yeah, the best way to contact me is either email or cell phone. My email is joshhertz1@yahoo.com. That's JOSHHERT as in Tom, Z, 1@Yahoo. And my cell phone is 215-696-1182. So if you have any questions or are considering the idea of maybe doing it, maybe not, definitely give me a call and, we can talk and see if it's something that might work for you and your business.
Okay. And that number one more time, Josh, your cell phone number?
215-696-1182.
Right. And they can always, too, if they're on the net, they can find you at the People's Choice. What is it? What's the web address, Josh?
You know what? To be honest, it's probably not the best way to contact me because I'm not sure the address and how it would actually filter down to me. So probably email or cell phone would probably be the best way, and we could take it from there.
Okay. All right. Awesome. This has been an awesome interview, Josh. I really thank you for taking the time out because we talked about doing this a while ago, and finally we've been able to sit down and do this interview and share with folks the benefit of working with you, and I really appreciate that. And I'm sure everybody that's watching this video is enjoyed as well, and probably has a new or better perspective about the benefit of working with an investor-friendly. Not only is Josh an investor-friendly agent, he's an investor himself. So there you go. You have his contact information. I will provide that below the video as well. How to get in contact with Josh. And if you want some more great strategies, tips, and techniques, be sure to visit realestatewholesalingexplained.com. Again, it's realestatewholesalingexplained.com. And until then, I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.